Right, welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure a lot of you people were wondering, where's my video? Because this news broke last night, very late last night. Gone midnight, actually, in the UK. So really late night breaking news. This comes to us from Deadline. And it is that Godzilla vs. Kong has been delayed by approximately 8 months. Now, I don't want to get into whether this is good or bad yet. I will at the end of the video. I just want to kind of read their article first and foremost, just talk through the news, and then break down my actual thoughts on it. Okay, so if you're new here, make sure you do hit subscribe. Make sure you like this video if you do enjoy the content, of course. And for existing subscribers and people that want to stay tuned for more, make sure you hit the bell notification, because apparently my videos don't even show up in your sub feed anymore, which is obviously a little bit irritating. That being said, let's get into it, shall we? I mean, Godzilla vs. Kong stomps to pre-Thanksgiving 2020 weekend. Now, Deadline reports that Warner Brothers and legendary Godzilla vs. Kong is heading to November 20th, 2020. Warner Brothers already had the pre-Thanksgiving frame on hold for a major release, and, well, this is it. The pick is directed by Adam Wingard, obviously he who will not be named for a movie that will not be named. The underperformance of the second film this past summer, Godzilla King of the Monsters, at 110.5 million stateside and 385.9 million. Warner Brothers Studios boss Toby Emmerich mentioned at Produced By this past summer that the threequel might come out later in the year so we can deliver an A+ movie. Now, we'll touch on that in a minute. Godzilla vs. Kong will face off against Sony's Kristen Stewart, Mackenzie Davis pick Happier Season, an untitled Amblin movie, and the expansion of Tom McCarthy's untitled Focus Features pick, as well as MGM's UAR's Sylvester Stallone movie Samaritan. I didn't even know that movie was coming out. As far as the Thanksgiving releases on the Wednesdays prior, it's Disney's Animation's Raya and the Last Dragon next year, and the Warner Brothers Will Smith drama King Richard. I doubt that will do particularly great if Gemini Man is anything to go by. And the departure of Godzilla vs. Kong leaves Universal's untitled Blumhouse pick alone on March 11th as the sole wide release. Now, let's touch on this, right? Because when that news released ages ago from Toby Emmerich, the head of Warner Brothers, everyone went mental and just said, yeah, it's going for reshoots, it's going back, all of this stuff. Right, let's touch on that. 8 months can be an entire reshoot. However, 8 months can't be, and this is where we really need to kind of double down and think about kind of facts and figures, I guess. 8 months can't be a reshoot plus digital effects. So digital effects do take a while, and they do need time to finish them. This is a digital FX heavy movie. Now, there's a few things to consider here with whether this is going to be happening in this case, and I don't think, I'm not saying either or really, it's more just kind of speculation. They could, depending on how they have framed this film, all of the digital effects of the monsters can be done outside of any reshoots of the human aspect. They'll be dependent on the interaction that they have with the humans, of course. Big fight scenes can be worked on now during reshoots, right? I don't think that's a stretch to say. I think that's fairly obvious that that could be happening. The human interaction with monsters doesn't require reshoots and then redoing of digital effects, right? But that's if they're reshooting. A lot of these actors and a lot of these directors, as far as I'm aware, aren't doing an awful lot else. There is the case to be said that we would have heard that they were doing reshoots and things like that, because we'd already seen some leaked images dropping from the initial shoot. But you've got to remember how long they had scheduled for this shoot. It was a really long time. A really long time. So I think we probably would have already heard by now if they were actually going back and doing major reshoots. So I don't know whether they are, and it's kind of speculation. But they could go back now after this news is broke. And it could be strategic that they broke this news now because they're going back for reshoots and they know that word will get out. Just because. Now, if they are going back for reshoots, 8 months 8 months past the date, because of course this was going to be released, what was it, March, April-ish time, I think. So off the back end of that, could there be time for reshoots now moving forwards with all of this time in place? Yeah, of course. They could go back and reshoot the entire movie, but I don't think they'd have time to do all of the visual effects. So I think they might go back and reshoot it. I think we will probably hear of some pickups, some changes, some adjustments in tone. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. And the reason why I say that, just quickly, is because of the potential motivation behind why they're going to do it. Now, if you remember, 2014's Godzilla reaction was, it's not enough monsters, there's too much human stuff. It's pretty universal, right? Most people said that. Most critics, anyway. And, you know, most fans. And then Godzilla King of the Monsters released, and most people's reaction was, oh, there's too much, there's just monster fight, there's not enough human stuff, what's going on? Which was just baffling. And exactly the same critics that said that there was not enough monsters were saying that there was too much monsters, which is wholly hypocritical. Now, if this is the case, if Warner Brothers' motivation behind these reshoots, Warner Brothers and Legendary, because Warner Brothers are just the distributors, right? This is Legendary's production. So if it's their decision to go back and do this based off the fact that, well, they need to try to get the balance right, I don't think you're going to please anyone. And I think that is potentially a bad sign. If that's the case, we don't know, right? It's just speculation at this point in time. Now, in terms of the comment, I've taken some heat for this, and I don't really understand why. But with respect to the comments of the fact that the underperformance of the second film, it didn't, again, and I repeat this, most people with studio connections wholeheartedly stand by what I'm about to say. Legendary, Toho, and Warner Brothers were happy with the performance. Okay? They were happy with it. Because they were thinking, and Toho have come out on record and said this, they're thinking more long term. Now, if the reshoots are going back because, now this is the other thing to consider, so I hope you've stayed this long, it might be that Legendary, right? Legendary and Warner Brothers might have got a new deal with Toho. They might have a new deal with Toho, right, to keep Godzilla and the associated monsters that they have the rights to. Maybe they've got more rights to different monsters, and they've got a new deal. And if that is the case, they may have delayed it. They may have been biding for time. They may have known about this, right, back when Toby Emmerich had said that previous thing about the delay. They may have known that a new deal was on the cards, because Toho have been very vocal about wanting to continue this. And if that is the case, maybe they're changing the film, right? They're adjusting the ending to keep the Monsterverse going. So playing devil's advocate and saying, yes, it might be bad and they're going back to reshoot it. Yeah, of course, that might be the case. But on the flip side of that is the fact that they could have a brand new deal. They could have a brand new contract, a brand new rights deal for multiple years. And if that is the case, then they may be going back to redo some bits and pieces to ensure that the Monsterverse stays alive. So, on face value, I don't think this is good or bad news. This is a wait and see situation. I really don't think this is bad. Now, a lot of people will say, well, we knew this was happening because we hadn't seen a trailer. Guys, just calm down. Standard marketing, okay, outside of outliers, right? And this is important. Standard marketing for standard movies is 6 months. So we were due to get one coming up, right? But people were complaining a good few months back that we hadn't had one, and we weren't going to get one. Okay, standard marketing is 6 months before a movie. And I think potentially Legendary and Warner Brothers blew their load a little bit too much on the marketing for Godzilla King of the Monsters. And I think probably they did spend too much. Genuinely. I think hopefully Warner Brothers may, well, the money's been spent now, but hopefully Warner Brothers and Legendary will understand and appreciate this moving forwards, that lower budget movies can make an awful lot more money if they're written correctly and they're performed correctly. Now, I've got every faith in this production. I think this will be a good film. I don't think this is good or bad news as yet. And if anything, the fact that this is going to open around November, you've got to remember next year, there's no Star Wars films. There's nothing. There is going to be nothing out in that time. Thanksgiving weekend or whenever it is, again, because it's not something that we celebrate here in the UK, obviously. I think that's good. I think that bodes well, actually, for the film making some money. Making some serious money. And I think you'd probably agree. I don't know whether monster movies are a summer blockbuster. It's difficult to really tell. But I think this could be good news. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think? Sorry for the long-winded sort of chit-chat about this, but there was a few things that I wanted to cover. I really wanted to kind of get my teeth into it, pun intended, and discuss it all. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know down below. Did you consider the fact that it could be a brand new rights deal, or did you just go, woe is me, the film's going to be trash? Let me know down below in the comments. If you're new here, make sure you do hit subscribe, like I said at the start. Returning subscribers, check the bell notifications, check that you are subscribed. YouTube sucks donkey balls at the moment, it keeps unsubbing people. Also, just to throw out there, I do have merch, I do have a Patreon. Hopefully you guys will want to support me and the channel if you find this stuff entertaining. It helps me do the things which I have been doing recently behind the scenes, i.e. getting new microphones and all this other kind of crap. And also I went away for the weekend to star in a... Well, not star, but I wasn't a star, but I was in a movie and filming behind the scenes bits and pieces, which your support helps me do those things. It helps me kind of take a small breather from providing this kind of content to you. So anyway, I've said my piece. I've said my piece. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, with Mr. H, take care.